Hey everyone, and welcome to Risky Business. My name's Patrick Gray, and this week's show is brought to you by Socket. And Socket's founder, Feroz Abukadije, will be along in this week's sponsor interview to talk about how the incumbent software composition analysis companies are doing a pretty bad job of tracking supply chain risks because they're just a little bit too slow. They're not really set up to do it properly. Socket is a software supply chain security tool for developers that will find all of the ugly stuff that attackers tend to submit to open source repos. You know, it'll find your CVEs and whatnot as well, stuff that might be present in your projects, but it will also find stuff that's dangerous but doesn't have a CVE, like fake packages that are full of malware or malicious code. You know, think typo squatting and dependency confusion and all that sort of stuff. That's really the problem that they're trying to solve. Feroz joined me for this interview and started off by talking about the volume of bad packages that they're identifying, which is a pretty crazy volume, and about how a lot of the older software composition analysis players are just too slow to flag this stuff. It's getting published and pulled before they notice, which can be risky in certain circumstances. So here is Feroz.
So we're detecting and blocking 100 malicious packages every single week, and that's in the JavaScript ecosystem, Python, and Go. It's really something to see. I mean, the amount of bad code that's getting published to these public package registries.
I mean, I imagine a lot of it, though, is not stuff that's going to be included in anyone's project, right? Like, maybe some of it's typo squatting, some of it's just like putting it out there, crossing your fingers and hoping someone includes it. But, I can't imagine too many of these are getting much traction.
Yeah, so there's a lot of garbage on there for sure. It's a public place where people can put any code. We certainly see a lot of typo squatting attacks where they're just hoping someone's going to install it. And you see the difference with typo squatting in open source package registries is that unlike making a typo when you type in a website on your browser, when you make this typo, it's a game over, right? I mean, you're running attacker code. It's like immediate remote code exec when you make that typo. So the consequences are pretty high. But we also see stuff like what's called dependency confusion, which is where somebody will name a public package the same as the name of a package used internally within a company.
Yeah.
And occasionally that'll cause it to just get installed by some tooling, and then that's how they get in.
Now, you're actually taking this information and passing it onto the repos, and they're actually being quite responsive, aren't they, in terms of taking stuff down? Yeah,
we report everything we find. We try to protect the community with, we're not hoarding this information in any way. So we submit all those 100 packages every week to all the registries and get takedowns. But the part that I find somewhat disappointing, I guess, is that they're not doing anything with that info to kind of warn people. And so what we've been seeing a lot of is, there's no notification system for if you've installed one of these packages that we learn later are malicious. They're not publishing CVEs for this, right? It's
well,
not
it's
really
hard,
part of the...
malware-laden package isn't going to be eligible for a CVE, right? Because it doesn't meet the criteria. But I guess the point you're making is that there should be a journal of record for this stuff somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, not to pick on GitHub here, but they run the NPM registry. So they know about every single one of these malware takedowns, but they don't put it into their GitHub advisories database. And so, their products aren't gonna warn about any of this stuff. And so, what we've been doing is we've been keeping track of all of these takedowns, and it's obviously the ones we take down, but also others that get taken down for other reasons. And we put them all into our product, and we also kind of have a list online that folks can see. And right now we're going on, about 8,000 of these packages.
Yeah. So that's you publish that all online. It's not just for paid users or anything. People can go just look it up. But I guess it's only of limited use, right? When you got to manually go to a web page and search for it and whatever. I'd be surprised if there's no one from GitHub listening who's going to get on that, because they seem to be pretty security conscious over there at GitHub, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to pick on them. I like the team there a lot. Socket is we're available on the GitHub Marketplace. We work closely with that team. We're one of the top 50 apps over there. So, it's a hard problem, and you got a lot of registries, a lot of different teams and folks, just trying to take this stuff down. But it's really unfortunate that there's no easy way for, teams to just figure out whether they're using this code. I mean, obviously with Socket, right? That's one of the things, that's one of our value adds is once you connect Socket to your repos, the first thing you get is visibility. So you get to see all the open source code that you're using, all the dependencies. And then, of course, we have data on every one of those dependencies and whether any of those are malicious and are risks. We obviously do more than that, too. We cover the traditional CVEs, and we can also find a bunch of other risks like deprecated packages, packages with protestware, telemetry. So the vendor could be phoning home, the maintainer could be collecting data off of the system. We can also identify unpopular packages with brand new authors. So one of the things that people really do like is once they've connected Socket, and it's a 2-click install, by the way. It's just, you go to the GitHub Marketplace, you hit install, you pick the repos you want to add, then you're done. You get this beautiful page with, first of all your dependencies that you're using, but then you also get a listing of all packages that have various risks in them. And you can just filter it down and say, I want to know every single package that we're using in our organization that has obfuscated code in it. You just get a listing of that. You find, these are the 5 packages that contain random blobs. What are they doing? What is this code for? And you can kind of investigate that. And it's a good way to uncover lots of risk.
Yeah. Now, before we started this interview, you actually fired up screen share and showed me that, one of your competitors, major company in this space, you showed me some of the repos that you'd flagged that had stuff like, they download and execute like straight up like binaries from the internet, like the worst of the worst sort of packages. And, you showed me the LLM based write-up that is in your entry for it on your website and whatever. But what was interesting is because you're catching these, reporting them, then they're getting nuked, at least one of your major competitors is slow enough that this just all happened and they didn't even notice it, so that there's no like record of this ever happening. So, I mean, it's one thing where you've got GitHub and whatever aren't keeping a public record of it, but it's a problem, I guess, because other people are using software composition analysis tools and this is just happening and they have no idea.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate. I mean, these legacy SCA tools are not keeping up. I think part of it is their whole approach is reactive, right? It's about really looking at this CVE database, right? This vuln database that's it's published by the NVD, right? It's basically people are reselling this data that's public data, and they're waiting for vulns to get into that database, right? And so if you're doing that, you're going to miss supply chain attacks. You're going to miss malware because no one's reporting this stuff. So, and by the way, there's been research on this, like how long do malicious packages remain on these registries before they're found? And the research is over 200 days. Right. This is it was published at Usenix Security. So, that's the status quo, right? No one's finding it. The existing tools aren't keeping up. And so the shift that we're seeing, at least at Socket, is that like the leading organizations, they actually get this, right? And they want to move beyond just basic vulnerability scanning and take a more holistic supply chain security approach. And that's really important because the truth is, and I know, this is kind of, folks don't like to talk about this, but the truth is a lot of vulnerabilities, they're low impact, right? A lot of the stuff that get into these, that get CVEs, it's a lot of it is low impact, difficult to exploit. It's in a development dependency. It's not actually going to run.
Whereas something that downloads and runs, installer_6.exe, which is I think one of the ones you just showed me. That's maybe something you want to.
Exactly. Yeah. If you run that even once, you're in trouble. So it's really a completely higher level of risk. But the reason why folks haven't focused on it until now is it's been really hard to solve this problem, right? There hasn't been tooling like Socket that you could just grab and would protect you from these types of attacks. So teams, I don't blame teams for really ignoring this problem. It's been really hard. So we analyze every open source package that's published in real time, and we look for these threats. We flag them within seconds because we're following the feeds from all of the major registries. And then we just throw it into our analysis in real time. And so we catch this stuff within seconds, right?
But how does that square with what you said just earlier, which is that the average time that this stuff stays in a repo is 200 days? I mean, if you're finding this stuff within seconds, reporting it to responsive teams, aren't you single-handedly going to pull that time down to like a couple of days?
Yeah. So this research was from before we started the company.
Yeah, right.
So this was in 2020, or it was basically the year we started same year we started the company. So I would love to see what that data looks like now. It's probably it's probably a little bit lower than that.
You see any trends in badness in repos? Because this is something like, my colleague Catalin Campanu is all over this stuff, right? He loves paying attention to all of the shady stuff that gets submitted to various repos. But, we've seen different waves, protestware, typo squatting, dependency confusion. Like what's the just general state of play with all of that at the moment?
I mean, you probably know this already, but there's a lot of attacks on crypto stuff, anything related to crypto. One of the ones that happened recently, the Ledger attack that happened last December. I don't know if you know, but Ledger, you probably know Ledger is
it's a hardware wallet, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But they made this.
I think this all happened when we were on break, and I was like just sort of half paying attention via social media. But yeah, walk us through it because I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so they published a JavaScript package that allows a website to connect to the hardware wallet through like their Chrome extension bridge.
They did this? Like the actual company did this?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I'm sure they have reasons, but
isn't the point of having a hardware wallet so that you don't have it sort of connected in such a way to you? Anyway, sorry, go on. It never. I don't know. I should stop being surprised, shouldn't I? But anyway, go on.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, basically what happened was they had a former employee, someone who left the company that accidentally retained access to their JavaScript library that they published, and that guy got hacked, and the attacker got on that developer's system, was able to use his npm credentials and publish some obfuscated code into that library. And unfortunately, most people were using that library through a CDN, and so that like update to that package just went out to the CDN automatically, and then everyone started pulling it into their websites. And so not very good decentralization, if you ask me. But yeah, so that was something that Socket caught right away, and because we saw that code go out, we detected it. The team on their end did a really good job responding to. I think they got like they got it fixed within 40 minutes, and they had to wait for the CDN to kind of update. But point is, that's the kind of thing you see a lot of, because the attacker there just stole all the crypto that any transactions that happened on any sites that had that script in it for that period. And I think it was, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was on the order of hundreds of Ks. So it's just
but for us, isn't the point of a hardware wallet to have a storage mechanism for your crypto that is distinct and separate from your computer?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that the whole fucking point?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, but I think that there's always pressure on people to integrate with more things, do more things, and
I weep for the crypto kids.
I feel like you were asking about trends, and I gave you like one example, but I guess kind of to sort of summarize it, it's like we just see a lot of stuff with crypto, as you might imagine, right? There's just a lot of interest on the part of attackers.
So attackers want money. No surprises there.
Yeah, you see that all the time in these. Actually, I have another one too that might be interesting. Discord. I mean, we just see Discord. It's like these kids, right? They just want to hack Discord accounts. Like
they want Discord tokens in crypto. Yeah, it's what the kids are into these days, right?
Yeah,
they're like they're playing Fortnite and stealing the Discord tokens.
No, straight up, like just grepping for the word Discord in your dependency folder is a great way to find malware. It's literally that string. That string has been very valuable to us. Hosting malware on Discord, code that steals Discord tokens from your system, right? Like just the word Discord in any way.
There you go. That's a red flag. All right, for us at Booker DJ, thank you so much for joining us on the show to talk through all of that. It was a lot of fun to catch up, and we'll talk to you again later in the year.
Cool. Thanks, Patrick.
That was Ferosa Booker DJ there from Socket. Big thanks to him for that, and you can find them at socket.dev. And that is it for this week's show. I do hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back next week with more security news and analysis, but until then, I've been Patrick Gray. Thanks for listening.